Trek Discovery Season 3. There's a hot topic out right now trying to figure out what is the burn within Star Trek Discovery Season 3. So for those of you who haven't watched Season 3 just yet or just now catching up, just a quick recap of what it's all about. We have in Season 2, Starfleet had a supercomputer called Control that was kind of about destined to kind of take over the universe here. It's going to be destruction of all living beings around the area. And they needed to put a stop to that because of a particular asset that they had on Discovery. Now, in order to solve this problem, they had to take that asset into the future where Control would not be able to obtain it. And that was 900 years into the future. So as Michael Burnham went to the future, we start off with episode 1, which was last Thursday. And we see her meeting up with some people and she's starting to catch up with some things. She finds out that Starfleet is almost non-existent, that it's been wiped out because of the burn. And that's when the universe took a hard left and all the dilithium crystals, or at least most of it, if not all of it, has destabilized, been destroyed, who knows. They just mentioned that, the ships are no longer able to use warp drive because of whatever has happened to these dilithium crystals. Now, we can't say that it's actually been completely destroyed because they're able to find some pieces of dilithium at a nearby city that they're trying to trade for. Now, some of the theories that are out there in terms of what this burn is, some people are actually saying it's the Omega particle. Now, the Omega particle is a particle that was introduced in, I believe, in Star Trek Voyager. And what happened was that Voyager came across a particle in the Delta Quadrant where, let's see here. Oh, okay. The Voyager came across a particle called the Omega particle, and it was the directive of Starfleet to obtain the particle at all costs and destroy it, because the particle is able to provide energy almost at a planetary scale with just one small particle. And if that gets into the wrong hands, it can cause some destruction because it's very highly unstable. So what do? Well, they go to the nearby planet where they detected the particle, and then they put it into a chamber to keep it stabilized for the time being until they can deploy it out in space and destroy it using Borg technology. And 7 of 9 actually helped construct the bomb as well as the chamber to obtain the particle to help neutralize it. But she wanted to see if she could try to harness it because the particle is pure perfection. And that's what the Borg is all about. They're all about perfection. So what does that really mean, though? Like, I mean, we can look at this here saying like, well, the Omega particle, it can, be the cause here. But if I kind of think about this here for a second, the particle, if it's become unstable, it's more of an accident. I think this is going to be more of like a deliberate attempt of what has happened to these dilithium crystals and Starfleet, right? Because one thing I noticed here, we'll get to that in just a second, but one thing I noticed here is that if you look at the trailer of season 3, there's no Klingons. And we'll get back to that in just a second. So my first theory here of what could actually be causing the burn, right? And the burn, well, and my idea about the burn is that there was a Next Generation episode called Force of Nature, and they talk about how there was a ship in distress because there were some buoys that were put out in space to help disable or collapse the warp drives, so it would protect this planet that's nearby, because the warp drive was actually making the system destabilize and become destructive to the planet. So there was a couple of scientists that came onto the Enterprise, tried to talk to Picard about the issue. They tried to talk to Starfleet science, and they couldn't, get anything quick enough, because as ships kept on passing by using warp drive, it was causing further disturbance in space, thus crippling the planet nearby. And in order to prove the alien's point, she took a vessel, flew into space, and created a warp core breach, which escalated or advanced the or sped up the process to show that their findings are absolutely true. So taking that idea, they it could be some type of disturbance with space that probably kind of expanded out with dilithium crystals, causing it to occur. That's very, very far-fetched. I can't see it being that, but it just happens to be something pretty prominent if we were to actually add some ideas here. The other idea that I have here that could be causing the burn to occur, there's a movie out there called Star Trek Undiscovered Country, and it literally opens up with an explosion in space with some rings of shockwaves expanding out. Now, it happens to be in the path of the Excelsior, where Sulu encountered the wave, and they found out it came from a moon called Praxis, which is on a Klingon planet. Okay, the planet got destroyed, and they just received some generic message saying that there was an incident. Do not pursue us. We have the situation under control. And so time kind of moves forward a little bit, and we're back at the meeting room on Earth for Starfleet. And as they talk about the issue, the explanation was that Praxis was overmined with their dilithium crystals, that there was no safety safety precautions and things like that, and therefore causing an explosion. But it just kind of seems weird though, because looking back again, like I mentioned earlier, if we look at season 3's trailer for Discovery, there are no Klingons. And within both seasons, we were dealing with some of the Klingons on both cases. I mean, the war has ended, but they still had a very, big foothold in terms of what was going to happen in season 2. So, looking at season 3 here, my idea is taking the fact that there's no Klingons yet, as far as we know, right? And the Undiscovered Country incident. What if this was actually not an accident, but more of a weapon that they were actually trying to develop to bring down Starfleet? Okay, it happens to be on the moon where all their dilithium crystals were. And knowing Klingons, they are really thirsty for power, vengeance, or even that domination, right? To conquer the areas and claim it as their own. And seeing how power hungry they get, they kind of like logic kind of gets shut out a little bit, and they actually just kind of do before thinking on some of these cases that we do see in a lot of shows. Now, I'm not saying that they're not smart and they don't have scientific means of being around. They have all the technology. They have a means of creating technology. But what if is it that they're just kind of going a little bit too fast for their own good, right? And then they created a weapon that was supposed to have meant to take down Starfleet in the future. And again, we're 900 years in the future, and the burn incident happened only 120 years before Burnham showed up on that time frame. So it didn't happen that long ago. And what if the weapon was deployed, but it just backfired against the Klingons, thus causing a chain reaction with all the dilithium crystals to either become stabilized, neutralized, or just straight up get destroyed, right? Causing maybe even a bunch of explosions, right? So it's really, really big thing out there that what could be happening. I mean, the strongest theory right now is the Omega particle. I just want to kind of throw some other ideas out there, just for the shits and giggles a little bit. But these are some of the ideas I came up with. Now, before I come to a close, I just want to nod on a couple of things that they mentioned here to Voyager, for that matter, because as Book was trying to talk to Burnham, that because of the them running into each other with his vessel, he needed Burnhamite to utilize the slipstream, the quantum slipstream drive, which most likely was developed due to the fact that they no longer have, um, you know, propulsion with the crystal, the lithium crystals, or the lithium crystals were just no longer being used, and then therefore could have been used as a bomb. I mean, there's a lot of things, a lot of question marks here. But Star Trek Voyager was the one that actually introduced the quantum slipstream in 2 episodes. One was Hope and Fear, and the other one was Timeless. And Timeless was the one where they actually managed to implement it and retain, retain the logs of how to utilize it. But it caused, while using it, it did lead to some fatal disasters where they had to use some time travel methods to correct the issue and save the entire ship, right? So that's pretty cool how they talk about Burnhamite, and then they talk about trilithium, and which was trilithium as part of the Star Trek Generations, where the Romulans were looking for the trilithium, and Soren was using it to create a weapon to destroy a star to get to the Nexus. And I'm pretty sure it was mentioned in many other episodes too. I just can't think of it on the top of my head. But yeah, that's what I have to offer. Tomorrow is going to be episode 2 of Star Trek Discovery, and hopefully they can reveal a little bit more. We might be able to see the ship, or they might reveal it the next episode. Who knows? Because there's still a lot of story to develop here, and I'm really excited. So let me know in the comments below what you think the burn is. What are your theories beyond the Omega particle? Or if you really strongly believe it's the Omega particle, how do you think it's going to be played into this? Right? And does it really make sense, the fact that I noticed that there's no Klingons in the trailer? Right? We see all these other aliens, but there's no Klingons here. So could that be the issue of what caused the fall of Starfleet? So thank you very much. Y'all have a good night, and I hope to talk to you soon.